figured you had them all signed.
Okay, welcome all to the April 3rd, 2024 meeting of the Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners. As per law, I have to advise everyone that this meeting is being recorded. We begin every meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, acceptance of the meeting minutes from March 6th, 2024.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we accept the minutes as written for March 6, 2024.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, motion and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Okay, for what I'm assuming everybody's here for tonight. Next is the public hearing for the potential rate adjustments. I'll call the public hearing to order at 6:32. All right, and before we get started, actually, why don't we start with a presentation of what the, what we're looking at. You've got the,
I
sheet
revised this
in front
I revised this sheet from the last meeting.
of you. Revised it
You'll
from
see the strike-throughs on it.
Since this morning.
The original tie-in bond rate increase suggestion was 10% to stay on schedule. The last meeting, we had discussion, and to relieve the bottom tier, which is most likely the fixed income, tighter budget families and households, it was suggested that we only increase the 5/8 meter, the 5%. After looking it over again and knowing what we have to do in sewer and finally getting our reads in for this this last third quarter, we don't have the fourth quarter. The revenue wasn't near where it was projected. We're a little short, but typically that comes back on the fourth quarter, but we can't budget on it responsibly. That being said, is still to protect the tier 1 people, my suggestion at this time is a 5%, 10% increase on the base rates. That'd be on the 5/8, the regular family households. It only go up 5% on the base rate, which is $3.70 a quarter. On the tier 1, we don't raise at all. And on the second and the third tier, we stay with the tie-in bond. That will give us a shortfall of $75,000 for the budget. And my suggestion is we use the retained earnings to do that. Granted, our retained earnings aren't where the state would say we'd want to be. The idea on the retained earnings is you want to be able to cover the loss of your largest asset. For us, that is our storage tanks, which is $1.5 to $3 million. Where we stand, we're not near that. So the relief that we can give the families by not going up on the tier 1 and minimizing the base rate, it doesn't put us, we are in the same jeopardy if we lose a tank. On the sewer, granted, we have to do the I&I, and we have the projects coming up to be able to fix that for the issues that are going on Main Street. And the shortfall, I'm suggesting no rate increase, fund it by pulling over $200,000 from retained earnings in the hopes that all the construction and the projects with the sewer department and the infiltration and the interceptor relieves the flow going over to Webster, which reduces the cost that we have to pay Webster. So it's a Peter and Paul thing. So I think it's premature to raise a rate on the sewer until we know exactly how that's going to affect us on what Webster charges us yearly. So that's where we stand. So in my opinion, the tier 2 and the tier 3 are usually, for the most part, discretionary use when you get into those tiers. Where the tier 1 is, you can't avoid it. You have a household that you're staying in that. And also, I understand the fixed income, and some of our retirees enjoy a garden. I don't want them to be afraid that they can't water their garden, which usually doesn't take all that much, but I've heard multiple times, I can't even water my garden anymore. It's not that much, but I also don't want them to not enjoy life, so.
Any questions from any of the board members?
Sum it up, 5% on the quarterly fee, which would be $370. And leave the rate
On the
tier
5/8.
On
On the
5/8,
1
which
inch.
is the majority.
Yes, the majority. The
And-
1 inch meters are typically
Commercial.
businesses,
It's
commercial,
business,
so.
Commercial or large rental, and leave the rate alone.
For tier 1?
For tier 1,
Tier 1.
so
So it's very little impact.
that's what we're trying to do.
Okay.
Right now,
Right now.
you know, until we figure out where we are.
All right, before we open it up for public comment, I do want to address the noise on social media and some of the things that were said there. And some comments that were made Monday night. The notice for this public hearing was posted on the 7th of March on the front of the town's webpage, and it has been there since then. It's just, the person questioning it Monday night was not able to find it. This process, I know someone commented that there have been multiple increases over the last year. That's not true. This is an annual process. It happens every April. Every April, we have a public hearing. We make a decision. And if there's a rate change, then we put that in on a leaflet with the next billing cycle, which goes out in May. And it goes into effect for July 1st. It's an annual process, and it's been an annual process for us now since 2019, when we had our rate study done. Also, just so folks are aware, the budget that we set each year is 100% dependent on the rates that are paid by the users, those of you sitting out there, those of us sitting up here. Everybody sitting up here on the table that lives in town is on the water system. We all pay the same bills. But the budget that we set is 100% based on rates and fees that we charge. We don't get any help or nothing is contributed by the tax base, by the town's municipal budget. And when we go out to loans, or we seek out grants where we can get them. We take loans when we have to take loans for capital projects. We take them in the best and smartest way we can with the lowest rates. The project that we did now has a 0% interest rate on it. The project that we're in now. So you can't get any better than that with some principal forgiveness. But in any case, I wanted to make sure all of that was put out first. But if anybody has any questions, comments, I will say now, keep it civil. And if you do wish to speak, When you do step up to either the podium or the table, it's your choice. Please sign in so that we have your name and address for the record, because this is all public record. Anybody have anything they wish to say or wish to ask?
Please use the mics.
Well, the mics are on.
Yeah, I know, but you're not close enough. We can't hear you. I didn't hear a word he said.
I don't know if that helps.
That's all I'm saying.
Will you give me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so if anybody has any questions or comments, go ahead.
Hi, my name's John Senchison. Do you give an address for your purposes, or?
And if you could, and then just sign in on the sign-in
I
sheet.
live at
there, just-
16 Country Club Boulevard. I'm new to Dudley, so this is my first meeting to see you folks. You said you would take $200,000 from retained earnings.
Yes.
If you do that, what will that leave your retained earnings at, and what's the goal for the retained earnings?
Okay, retained earnings for the 200,000, that's from sewer retained earnings. The way the budgets are set up, we bill bills out to the users based on how much they use. That comes in, that's used to pay the budget. If there's any excess at the end of the year, that excess goes into what's called retained earnings. It's a savings account, in essence. That savings account can be spent one of three ways. It can be spent to improve the system. It can be spent to relieve rates, which is what we're talking about doing here. Or at town meeting can vote to take that money and use it for other means. That's the only way that money can be spent. So basically, anything you pay in your bill stays with the water department year after year after year. So the retained earnings builds up. If we're doing things right, it'll build up. We don't want it to build up too high, but we don't want it to be too low either, because we need to have something to fall back on if we have a capital issue. Right now, sewer is at about 1.2 million.
Yes.
But we've got some projects coming up. We've got a big project coming up next year.
With this and for the town warrant, you're looking at taking out $500,000 this fiscal year.
We're gonna be hitting it for 500,000, which is gonna bring it down to about 700,000.
And second question, if I may ask.
Sure.
The increase, and go back to what you said about the tie-in bond recommendation, is that to cover operating expenses, or is that for future capital projects?
That's covering operating expenses.
Operating.
That covers, these folders here contain the bills for this month. That's to pay our bills.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Okay.
Hi, a couple of questions. Mike
Just-
Peterson.
If you could give your name and address up for the record. I know who you are, but,
Mike Peterson, 9 Catherine Street, Dudley, Mass.
okay, and just sign in there. That's just so that when the minutes are written, we can confirm the names so that it's in the record properly.
Okay, Webster has a huge problem, okay, in any treatment plants. They're $10 million shortfall. Do you see it affecting us in any way down the road, foreseeable future? Because we ship our sewer to them, we pay a fixed cost, whatever it is, to them. Okay, so I see them spiraling out of control. I know we closed our treatment plant down many years ago. So right now, we're paying to ship our sewer to them, right?
Yeah.
And then you guys previously just said you have costs, we have infrastructure that we have to do in Dudley without, So I just see a huge problem coming down the line with Webster.
It's ongoing. This current sewer budget is, that's water. Current sewer budget is $1.6 million. Of that, about approximately 700,000.
800.
Well, it's going to be 800.
Yeah,
700 to 800,000 of that is sent right over to Webster to pay for our portion of the plant. So it's in our budget to pay for that processing. Costs go up. They've gone up exponentially since COVID.
Okay, second question. There was a postcard sent out a while back to every homeowner in Dudley, okay, about their tie-in from the street to their house.
Sure.
Is that to check for lead pipes, for the safety of their house? Okay, I think that's all I have.
Yep,
Thank you very much.
that's just, we're looking for lead service lines. We know what we have in the roads.
That's
That's a
mainly,
state mandate.
yeah,
That has to be done through the state.
that's for compliance. That was a grant which was funded with in-kind services through us. That cost us no money. Ty and Bond did help us secure that. That is just to know if and where we do have it, and so where we know also where the copper lines are. Just basically for compliance. That trickles down from the feds to us through the state.
I think that's all I have. You said you guys are going after state grants, right, actively?
Wherever we can.
Trying?
State law.
I know money's tight out there, because,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
Anyone else? Really? Okay. So if that's it, then we'll close the public hearing at 6:47.
That means we can go?
Go. You're free to stay as much, stay or go, it's up to you.
We hope we answered some of your questions.
Well, we're new to Dudley. We're up in Country Club Boulevard. And so 22 new homes. So we're obviously concerned about water and sewer.
Sure.
This is my first meeting, so
Okay.
Dudley.
Yeah, welcome to Dudley.
thank you. We'll see you next meeting.
We all have to.
Absolutely.
All right. All right.
Appreciate you watching out for us.
Well,
That's what I have to
we
say.
pay the same. We pay the same rates.
Yeah, but it's nice to know you're fiscally responsible.
We try.
Thank you.
We try. Thank you. Okay. So what is the?
Gonna make a motion?
Well, what do we want to do? How do we want to proceed?
A couple different motions, or?
I would say
A little gray area.
If you're reading
gray
from the
box.
gray area.
that's his proposal. Personally, I like it. I've been talking, with Brian throughout the process, and I'm familiar with it, and he's put a lot of work into crunching the numbers and making sure that we're doing the best that we can. What I would suggest is if we take motions for separate motion, one for water and one for sewer.
Make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to follow Brian's recommendation, 5% increase on the base rate for tier, that's tier.
For the 5/8, yeah.
Yeah, 5/8, and to
10% for
and go with his tier 2 and 3 recommendations on the water. And of course, if it's the second motion, we need to propose.
Well, just one at a time, yep.
Yeah. So that would be Brian's recommendation on the water proposed. Yeah, so it's actually 0 on tier 1, 10% on tiers 2 and 3, with a base rate, 5% increase on the base rate,
On 5/8.
on 5/8 only,
And 10%
10%, yeah,
on the larger
larger ones.
services.
Mr. Chairman, can we add that if there's a shortfall, we take from retained earnings?
He's recommending taking 75,000 from retained earnings.
That's right.
Give or take, whatever it's gonna be.
You have to get into a separate motion.
No, they do that as a,
Honestly, I've never had to recommend taking in from retained earnings. I don't know the mechanism you're gonna have to use for or
we
when.
may have to go to town meeting for that, we may
Yeah.
not, I don't know.
Fall town meeting.
But this is what we want to do, then
This is what you
just
wanna
make it
do
that
for-
way, and we'll get it done the way, however it has to be done.
First quarter of the
Right.
new year.
I'm just looking down the road, Mr. Chairman, that if the state looks at it and sees us short on our budget, that
Well,
it's stated that we're taking from the retained earnings.
But we won't be short because the budget will have that money built into it. Okay, okay,
So does the motion have that, just so I have it correct?
So the retained earnings?
Yes.
that's way in the back, it'll stop. So just to clarify, base rate 5% on 5/8 services, 10% on all others. And on the tiers, 0% on tier 1, 10% on tiers 2 and 3, and a drawdown of retained earnings by $75,000.
Second that
correct?
motion, Mr. Chairman?
Okay, all right. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous, 4-0.
Don't need a roll call.
Okay, and then sewer?
We don't need a roll call.
Chairman, I'll make a motion, no increase on sewer and supplement the shortfall retained earnings. Draw down of 200,000.
Okay.
Second that, Mr. Chairman?
Motion. And a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
Good work.
Good. Thank you for coming. I think that's more people than we've ever seen sitting in at our meetings.
Yeah, we usually talk to an empty room. It's really,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I just want to, before we forget, because unfortunately we can't, because we don't have very large commercial base, so we can't relieve people as much as we'd like with retiree discounts or anything else. But if I remember, Jen there is an assistance program someplace that you had found before.
WCAC.
She's supposed to be getting back to me if they're doing it this year or not. But if you're signed up for the heating and they do implement it, I will get their information like we did last year.
Yeah, there are some other avenues.
There
that we'll give
there is
you.
help out there if
Worcester
folks need it.
Community Action Council
Yeah.
sponsored that.
Yep.
Just so.
And
we
they're
have it out there.
hoping, she's hoping to know by
They have the money
July.
to do it again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Good.
if folks need help with their utility rates, please stay in touch so that if those help projects come out, then we can get you in the right place. Okay, Southern Worcester County Dispatch Center. I believe that's you, Brian?
There has been a number of instances where, since there's a slight disconnect with getting information over to us when the fire has to be on our hydrants or there's water problems in the homes, that the fire department is being called and we're not getting the call-outs for water in basements or anything like that, which is in a resultant delay in loss of property to our ratepayers.
I had a conversation with Director Linsky on this, because he called me on it. And I explained the situation to him. And he explained back to me that there's a good percentage of calls that do not require us, but I says, in the meantime, you can at least call us as soon as you can, call us. Instead of calling the fire department right off the bat, at least give us a call. Let us determine with houses on the water system and try to get information from the caller as to what is happening. Is it, is it something coming from in the house? Is it flooding the house? Or is it outside water, So he agreed to that. He would try the best to do it. He can't always speak for the dispatchers. Sometimes in the heat of things or whatever, they don't do all that they're supposed to, but he's looking into that a little bit more. But I thought that was a fair thing to do, at least, give them a chance to gather as much as they can for us. Go from there.
George, can we just keep in touch with them?
Yeah.
Just to keep it
We'll
on.
know,
his
we'll
mind?
know by the calls that come in, which they do come in sometimes frequently, that, they're doing their job right, and then I can approach them on that after that.
Even if they do their job, call them and say, hey, thanks for the heads up.
Yeah.
just so-
I'm in communication with them a lot, so I'll mention it to them.
Okay. We'll keep working it. Secondary water operator position, okay.
So, we had a vacancy, one of our members left, and it opened up another position, and one that's been sort of filled right now temporarily by one of our sewer workers. And he'd like to come over and has put his name into the posting for the job. He's a senior member, and he's licensed with his T1 and T2, T1 and D1 license, so he qualifies. And he's very familiar with the job because he's worked it before. So I'd like to, with the board's approval, hire Tim Galvin for the position of secondary operator. Just secondary operator, right?
Yeah, that's the reason why they had to come to you, because he's the senior most qualified for the position also.
With prior water
It's at a different grade, so
Yeah,
you guys
the-
have to vote on it instead of just,
The position was, I believe, filled at the laborer level, wasn't it?
yeah.
But it's being filled at a higher level now, but I mean, to me, if we can fill all of them with certified folks, it's better. But that's just my opinion, but I guess they've
He's a 17-year employee too, so.
they've been holding off to get our approval.
And he's starting, need to switch it, he'd be water tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tomorrow.
yeah, technically, yeah.
Yeah, so
I don't know that does it need a vote? I don't know.
we like to do it,
Yeah.
just to
They
make
want-
it
okay,
official.
so-
Because it's a change in the budget, you're paying at a different tier.
Okay.
So that's why we were worried, that's just to cover
Okay.
bases.
All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion, we hire Tim from the sewer department over to the water department for the second water operator position.
Secondary operator. I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Thank you.
Unanimous.
George, what's the plan for the position of the sewer now?
Right now, it's no position opening yet. There's just gonna keep that one position that we had as a training position, call it, whatever it was, open. James is over there right now. We're waiting on some things to happen, which you guys know.
Okay, tie and bond. We don't have any official correspondence with them. I guess at this point, I know they're working a final change order for the treatment plant, which will include the machinery for moving skids, some changes to the feed pumps, the scaffolding around the bag filter, and a potential for a sampling line on the raw water main
so we
coming
have
from
4-log.
for 4-log. So that they're working on that. They didn't get it to us in time for tonight's meeting, but we can work that. And then yesterday, just as an update, we had a kickoff meeting. Well, so folks are aware, Monday, our contractor for the water main portion of the project started work at 7 a.m. They did have police details, but we weren't really aware of it. Ty and Bond wasn't aware that they were starting up again. But they started, and it did cause some problems. I did address them briefly at the selectmen's meeting as an apology Monday night to the folks who lived on Prospect Street, because buses didn't get through, so kiddos didn't get picked up for school. So there was a little bit of a, Jen took some phone calls from some upset parents, but we did discuss with the police chief, and there was a lot of discussion between George, Brian, myself, police chief, Ty and Bond, MJ. There was a lot that went on Monday, and then that led into a previously scheduled meeting yesterday afternoon, with GEG to and Ty and Bond to start up the process again. And they are starting up again, and they're gonna be working, it should be about 4 to 5 weeks for them to be able to finish up everything that is left to be done. Finish pave, trench out and finish pave all of the work on Progress, Ellis, George, Warsaw, Fairview, and First Ave. And,
West Main Street?
and West Main Street, yes. Finish up the connections that have to be done on West Main Street. I believe they finished moving the manhole this morning on the easement, so that's been moved. And they have a flushing port that needs to be added to the sewer line coming through the easement. So they plan to have that all, they propose to have all of that completed by the 1st of May. If it pushes a week, that's fine, but that they have, I do have the schedule here for folks, if you want copies of it.
Mr.
you can
Chairman,
certainly have it.
where do we stand with the state highway as far as their work on West Main Street? Will they be suitable?
The application is in. They haven't heard yet. They're slated doing West Main Street for the week of April 22nd. So there's still a couple of weeks left, a couple of weeks now to firm everything up with the state, but everything will be firmed up completely before any work is started on West Main.
My second question is, with these erratic temperatures, is it suitable to lay asphalt at some of these lower temperatures as far as Ty and Bond goes? To warranty the job? Seems a little early.
GEG and the observers for Ty and Bond will work together to ensure that all paving is done appropriately according to spec and according to the contract.
Yeah, because I'm just,
Made it clear when we sat for the meeting, we made it clear, it's in the contract.
Let's get the compaction right, too.
compaction.
That's already.
Compaction tests were one of the
We're not worried
things we
about that
brought up.
anymore. so.
Yeah, right.
It sounded they won't be doing any more hot top until next week and avoiding this weather.
Right. They're done working now.
Next week's gonna
They
be
may
6
be,
weeks.
Friday doing
You push
saw
them over
cuts
onto
and things like that, but other than that, they won't.
You know
be
which
doing
direction we're
something.
going. We only want to put the pavement down once.
Right,
I believe the state standard's like 40 degrees in Ryan.
Yeah. 39
Right,
degrees
yeah.
below
Right.
39 or whatever. Yeah.
so, and, the cleanup, they're working on cleaning up the Schofield Ave spot. They should have already taken quite a bit of that dirt pile down, so that should be all restored by May. But there is a copy here, and I know we have other copies of the agenda from that meeting yesterday, if folks want to see it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
will we be notified so that we can send out a rave alert when they'll be working on Prospect and closing it again? Because I did see something put out by the police department.
Yes, I shared it this morning.
I just think that we should notify people.
Right, we want to put, they're supposed to notify us so that we can
They
get.
plan on working Monday. I would advise a rave alert just for the general areas of those concerns.
For
The
Friday.
buses, things will be, or people will be directed if they have to get into the areas with the police there.
So they will start working Monday?
Yes, they're gonna start working Monday.
And do we know, is it the whole week?
Yes.
Okay, no, I just want to, and it's 7 to 3, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm going to put 7 to 4 just to cover. I'd rather go longer.
Police chief and lieutenant are aware what they have to do and how the police should be set up.
And that Prospect will be closed.
well,
Maybe
No,
closed.
just construction in those areas.
Okay.
Try to avoid it, but if you have to,
in that
there'll be
neighborhood.
assistance there.
I just think if we put it out, then at least people know.
Yes.
And then bus hours, they'll be more vigilant about
So I'm going to.
watching for buses and making sure that they can get through.
I'm going to send out the rave alert Friday and Sunday,
You're gonna get
so that I like to hit, and then again. Okay, thank you.
Cool. Sounds like the weather's here.
New England, if you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah, no kidding. I don't think there's anything else from the Town bond stuff.
They did our presentation today.
Oh, yes, that's right, the New England Waterworks
Association, yeah.
Association has having their big conference at the DCU Center. Derek Belanger, the primary engineer on the treatment plant project, presented to the masses there. There were, there had to be a couple hundred people at least in that room. Yeah, maybe it may have been as many as 500 people in the room.
There's a lot.
From all over New England, were presented a half-hour presentation about Dudley's journey with PFAS from the beginning, and it was very well done. I've already asked some at Tie and Bond. I think we'll talk more about that and see about getting them to bring that presentation here to present it to the public. We'd have a special meeting in this room and present that, and Derek has already said he can gear that. That was geared today to folks in the water business. They can gear it down a little bit and make it more consumer friendly.
In the minimum, we can get his slides.
Yes.
And
Oh,
share
yeah.
them.
He's already said he'll give us the slides so we can put that on our website.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. Anything.
It was very well done, and
Yeah, you did a nice job.
also got to see a little bit about Millis and Dover, New Hampshire, and what they've gone through. I was interested to see the difference in cost for Dover, New Hampshire, and us. What Dover has been able to do for, it's more money, but they did a heck of a lot more work, just because of the difference of what state they're in. It's incredible, the amount of work. The first presentation of the morning.
Other towns right now are in the supply chain right now, getting vessels
Yes.
and whatnot. We were kind of in a perfect storm where we got caught early, but we were in the middle of a project, but we were in early enough for the SRF. We were in the 0% financing, 20 to 30% forgiveness, and just unfortunately it puts us out a decade, a long time before we can do another project.
It as much of a headache as we've had over the last 4 years. We're in a much better place than other communities are right now.
But if we didn't do the project till 4 years from now, how much more would it cost us?
Oh, yeah.
But that is time also getting the materials here.
Getting the stuff is incredible.
Thank God we reacted positively and started.
It's comparing apples to oranges, but our $11 million is compared just over the other side, over the next town over. They're talking up around 40 million.
47 when they're done.
They're going to be building 2 plants instead of 1, but they're also, that's a considerable difference.
Almost double. If you take out some of the instrumentation that they need for one of their treatments versus us, it's almost double what they're paying, what we're paying. And I don't know if they even on as good of terms on this SRF.
Right, no, yeah, those terms aren't,
Yeah.
the 0% and the big forgiveness is not, that's not gonna keep going forward, so we were in a good place. Water treatment plan updates?
Everything's moving forward. Winston did a site cleanup recently. They got a lot of the other things off the ground, so it looks more of an active plant than it is than a construction site. Today, through the rest of this week and into Monday, the remainder of our SCADA, our control systems are going to be put in, and we're getting there. Like you said, the change orders, a couple minor, not minor things, but that's pretty much the end of it at that point.
You'll have remote control of the booster station and the tanks and...
The only other thing after that is all the other locations that are tied into this for the communications are getting done. After that leaves the rehab of well 6.
Oh, yes.
We'll be putting a submersible in there, which it needs that turbine needs to be replaced or rehabbed. The reason why we went to submersible is now it's quiet and becomes a usable building for storage and, or, you know, for meters, and it gives us a good storage facility that we just haven't
Yeah, you don't have
had.
to listen to
So
that constant
instead of just having
whine.
another brick building that's not useful, so.
Yeah, you won't have that constant whine of the
That,
pump.
yeah.
Now, there's gonna be a submersible also going in Station 3 as a backup someday down the line. To get rid of that old turbine, and that collapsed. Now we can use it as a backup well.
Good.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
You, there was a reminder on my calendar that you wanted to talk about when we could do an open house.
Oh, yes. And actually, Derek asked me this morning, have we thought any more about ribbon cutting, open house, public event down at the down at the
That's a
plant?
good idea, Mr. Chairman, but the problem is that we gotta be careful too, because you got a lot of delicate equipment in there and some dangerous chemicals in there, so you're gonna have
Oh,
to
yeah,
kinda
yeah.
set up an area where
It can
somebody
be-
has to be there to,
Oh, there'll be people all over the place.
that's what worries me.
Well, no, our people will be.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll have everybody, yeah, no, there won't be,
It would, honestly, it would be a basic walkthrough through the building.
they wouldn't even enter the chemical the chemical areas. Just-
Then
Those are, yeah,
no access to the SCADA control.
the SCADA areas, I mean, the chlorine is out in the open, but we can put a line across there to keep people away from it. It's do not touch and all of that kind of stuff. But Ty and Bond has already said they'll work with us to pull off a professional.
Jim, we're gonna bus people over there, or are we gonna have parking over there?
It's a long driveway, and we'll make it work. I mean, you open it up for a few hours, and
If it's dry enough.
There's a big enough
You might probably be
area.
getting other towns in there too that are gonna start
Yeah.
doing PFAS
Yes.
things.
Yeah, if they want to come down,
Might be a
well,
lot.
them, they can come in and see it anytime, with an appointment. But, yeah, just to let people see what those rate increases that we vote for, what they're actually paying for. I think it's a good idea, unless anybody has an objection to it. Just have Brian, George, and Jen work with Ty and Bond and others to get that off for maybe mid-May time period.
No, I think we should share it. It's a good story that Dudley should be proud of, so.
The only problem with an open house is if you have it during the day is.
It'll be on a Saturday.
It's got to be.
That's what I'm suggesting, yeah,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
It'll have to be on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Just, to do it during the day, during the week doesn't make sense because,
Like a 4-hour plan,
yeah,
10 to 2, something like
yeah,
that.
something like that, and just stop in when you want. You have
Open house.
the ribbon cutting at a ribbon cutting at the beginning, and we can all get top hats.
You want those big scissors, right?
Yeah, the big scissors.
I got a pair of big scissors.
All right, Justin, you good?
Yeah, okay.
That's good news.
That covers Ty and Bond and water treatment plan updates. Union negotiations, that should be starting up soon. I haven't heard, it called some original meetings and then they canceled them, so that's ongoing. We've been told we'll have a seat at the table, and those concerns we have are documented and will be shared there.
Will you stay in touch with them to?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. That's, budget, current budget. We've got 2 pages of current sewer and current water. On sewer, I did notice an issue on the electrical line, line number 20. There's something wrong in the math there. The expended is about 18,000. The expended, for some reason, is not there. I know it was there last month, so something happened there, but the
That's
expended
me.
is somewhere around 18,000.
Yep, that's me and my formulas.
And that's right in where it's supposed to be. We should be at 75%. On sewer, any questions? Engineering is over.
Do we ever resolve why the debt service was,
It was interest.
okay.
It was interest on a loan.
Any questions on sewer? Water? The water and,
Use a lot of electricity.
do we ever? Just so folks are aware, just this month's electric bill was $26,000. That's for 1 month of electricity for just the water department. Sewer department was about $3,000.
You've done a lot of upgrades and lighting and
Yes.
stuff in the last
And
couple of
that's-
years, so that would have been a lot worse than that.
Yeah,
Is
that's,
your chemical bill there? That's usually $13,000.
chemical bills, chemicals are up. Chemicals, we spend 150, yeah, but we're right where actually, we're lower than we need to be on chemical. That's actually a good thing. That's if we're at 70, it says we're 48%.
Give or
spent down
take
there.
where we are in the year.
Yeah.
Historically, also since we had the rate study and increase, historically, we've been in the past 4 or 5 years with me and George working on this, we true up every single year. We go through all the bills and adjust accordingly. We return about roughly, the putting into retained earnings from this is about 4 to 5%. So we haven't had a shortfall where we've had to pull out of it typically, unless there's been an occurrence, and we pull out of it just to sustain the budget, and that's usually in the fall meeting.
Yep.
But we're very tight on it. There's no,
Yeah.
it's on the money.
And the education is high. That's what, you're on a 2-year cycle?
2-year cycle.
So, what that probably means, I were willing to bet if you looked at last year's numbers probably weren't spent. So they didn't do any training last year, so now they've got to do extra this year to be able to keep their license.
Also, typically you like to spread it out over the time, but we've been shorthanded and projects going on and not having to cancel, but moving out of certain classes and going into other ones. It was a little bit difficult at times, personnel-wise.
And you'll notice we've been reimbursed for the Code Red, reverse 911. So, any questions on water?
Overtime, looks like we're at 95% of the budget year.
We knew that going into it, it was gonna be
I
definitely.
think we're gonna run over, obviously, because
Rob?
On water?
more than 5% of the year
On
remaining.
water, yeah.
Yes.
On water, yes, you will.
Yeah.
Hopefully with the system buttoning up right now, we can,
Yeah.
next week or so, we might.
With everything becoming more and more automated, it should
It should stay on
tamp
budget.
that down a bit, or keep
I've
it.
had the conversation with Bob. Typically, if you average out a whole entire year with your call-outs and whatnot, per person, whoever's on call, you're gonna get 2 call-outs for your week, depending on whatever else happens on average. So if you have a main break that takes us 12 hours, that covers us for almost a month and a half, but on average, that's usually what it ends up being. But also that said is, we don't know how we're gonna run the plant or how we're gonna have to do that. Webster does theirs one way, we don't know how we're gonna do ours, so it's more of a placeholder right now than anything else.
Old business, I'll be honest, indirects is, there's nothing on indirects right now. Oh, indirects, yes. Actually, the surveys have gone out
And been returned.
and been returned, and the consultant, the Abrams Group, is going to be sitting down with the treasurer collector next week. Is that correct?
Yes.
And we're moving forward with a report, moving forward towards a report. They said they'd have everything, they should be able to have everything done by, by the end of April, so it looks like it's moving. I know the FAA and town administrator have been asking, so So the budget can be buttoned up, but we're looking at it, and, we'll see what it comes out with, I've got my opinions, but what I've heard so far, but we'll know for sure later. Turn on, shut off fee, we haven't really worked on any of that stuff this month. It's just been eaten up with other things. You said you had something on the
Yeah.
commodity?
So since we have really got nowhere with National Grid, and I knew that was gonna be the case, I can take this to a independent broker who can negotiate some rates, bring him in here for a presentation, but I'll need consensus or permission from the board to give him a couple of months' worth of electric bills, which I believe they're all public record anyway, so I don't see any issue, but just figured to bring it up at the table
Yeah,
here.
and have we heard anything about the town? The town was looking at something?
So I did hear back about solar.
And that solar credit?
Yeah, and I did I email it to you? I thought I sent it out in email. Okay.
Yeah, I responded.
But, so the town does get credit to their electric from some of the solar. They told, the email stated something to the effect of, and I don't want to misquote, that they would be looking for us next. We would be getting a credit next.
Okay.
So
Town's gonna look on our behalf?
that's what I got back. That was the
Yeah, I have it right here.
thank you. Couldn't remember it all.
Solar Farm gives the town net metering credits. At this time, we're trying to get more accounts on the Schedule Z through National Grid. Town Administrator's Office is working on it. Their contact at National Grid really isn't helping them. So I offered, I can, through some of my contacts, I could help them do that, but I haven't heard back. So basically what they're trying to get everything on, all the different town accounts onto this Schedule Z. Which would give
Okay,
us
and
some
they
relief.
also had somebody come in, and they were talking about an aggregation program?
That's for homeowners.
That's for homeowners, that the town itself isn't gonna be,
This is something that the town benefits from directly to the utilities that the town pays.
okay, all right. I mean, if it can save us money,
Yeah.
go for it.
So we can go out there, basically what we're doing is we're just putting on the open market, the cost of buying the commodity, not, you're gonna pay National Grid to
Still gonna pay
deliver it.
transportation.
Yeah, you're gonna still pay National Grid to bring it to you, but you can buy the electricity from whoever you want.
The only thing, could you end up losing your solar credit? Which one?
Right,
What's
so
the pro or con?
we'll have to weigh all
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, if you lose your solar credit,
The good
We don't
thing
even
with
know
some
what
of
that
these
is.
out there, from my experience with it, you can lock into multi-year, so you have some guaranteed forecasting, so we know like 3 years out, we're gonna be at this rate. And based on our consumption, once we have some actual good data from running, like the plant for a year, it can help us with budgeting, so.
We're not gonna have any, I don't see a large increase with the plant, because our pumps are still the
They're
pumps.
still gonna run the way they are.
Yeah, and we still have our daily demand, so it doesn't matter which station I run, I still have to pump X amount of gallons, so ideally, the idea of this plant is, and that's why I said how we're gonna run it, is if we can run at night during, the times that are most beneficial to us economically, that'd be great too. So if we get better rates and also run in the lowest cost, timeframe, it'd be nice.
Are the submersibles gonna use less money than the old turbine type?
Oh, yes. Oh, it should be.
Use less electricity? If they're gonna use, that.
Like 40 horsepower motors.
Also, if I use the VFDs at a lesser rate, on the curve and, so find the sweet spot for that and the sweet time, but, ideally.
your high voltage demands stay the same regardless. Like I say, booster station, the pumps. The rest of it's low voltage, lighting.
Right.
Yeah. In the treatment plant, there really isn't a lot of.
All LED lighting.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's pretty green, as they say.
Okay, if that's, then I'll reach out
That'd be
to a
great.
couple of contacts and see if maybe, if not next meeting or the meeting after, get them in here to give us a little presentation.
Superintendent's report?
Everything is pretty standard. I shouldn't be any big questions or anything, mostly sampling stuff and P&G and things like that. Sewer, same thing. However, I do have something I wanted to put on there. I had forgotten about it over the week, but it's got to be addressed. How do you want us to respond to an incident if it occurs on Eisenhower Drive? Because we don't monitor that station right now, and we don't know what's happening there. Do you want me to call you? Do you want, because they're gonna be calling us for something to happen. I did talk to the town planner this morning, and I presented him with the issue over there. And I says, you're gonna have to start getting a betterment type setup going. And, you know, it was commonly said that around 20 grand would take care of the pump station part of it, or whatever has to be done there. But also, as the highway might have some things they need done too. So he's gonna look at putting a package together to present to their planning board and then to the selectmen, try to get something moving fairly quick. But in the meantime, I need to know what the board wants us to do, and it may happen because we don't know how long those pumps will go without getting clogged or failing or something happening to them in that pump station. So I gotta know what to do. I do have the availability of using the money that's still about 10 grand, still there to do there's have to be a pump truck, of course, and something would have to be fixed, of course, but that money is available to us if we need it in an emergency, but I gotta know what to do as far as responding.
Mr. Chairman, did we get this over to council for review yet?
Yeah, we had a conversation with council.
We had You spoke to council. The only other thing, because you were sick that night.
We didn't get a
Tom had made a motion and it was voted on. I don't know how, the logistics of it. You may have to rescind or change what you guys voted on before.
I believe it was simply,
Not to respond.
No town resources, sewer resources that are to be used.
Right.
That's why that's why I was concerned, because George wasn't here that night to what I basically relayed what it is, but still, just to make sure. But I'm just saying, because you guys voted, I don't know how you have to do that.
yeah, the motion was not to incur any cost for the Eisenhower pump station.
That's for upgrades. Now, I did have a conversation with council, and he said that, he said that legally, we are not bound to do anything. It's private property. We can legally walk away. However, there is if something goes south there is the public relations side of it as well, that we're leaving them high and dry. So it is legally, we're not bound to do anything. Should we, in good faith with taxpayers, do something if there's an emergency?
Mr. Chairman, can I suggest that we get in touch with the corner office and say, and the motion I had made was for the upgrade of
For the upgrade, right.
our cost. And I know,
I just want to make sure, because
yeah, but what I wanted to say is,
Response to it.
if we get a hold of the corner office and say, we will respond in a dire emergency, but there will be a bill coming of time spent or repairs made, whether it's the money that's left till that's gone, but our users should not run any cost of that.
Yeah, I know that motion, that's good to clarify that. That motion was for the upgrades and making that whole.
but my concern
Making
is
that
that
public.
the way it was worded, though, pretty much locks him off from anything.
Anything,
Anything,
no response
to
to that.
incur no, and that means, for instance, if we just randomly take a drive down once a week, that's, you're using, Mike's time to go down and drive, and but still, the motion, what you guys voted on was very tight and constricting.
The one thing that I did not ask with the town council, because the question didn't actually come up until after I had talked to him, was easement rights. Because right now, that,
Didn't Haney give us a permission to work
Well,
on that, into that thing?
but
A letter?
that's permission, but it's still private property. So it doesn't, anybody can write a letter for anything, but where that's still, he sold that property to a private property owner. So at that point, it is within the 8 feet or whatever it is, the setback is for the town?
I don't know. Yeah.
Right on the edge of the road.
It's,
How wide
In
is
my
the
limited conversation
paper
with-
road there? You know, that's what I'm saying. It could be paved right up to,
In order to do the work we had done upgrade, I know he signed off on a right of easement for that whole area there to
but
work
it's gotta
in.
be,
And I don't know where that went.
I think it was just a letter,
Yep.
not,
Full easement.
correct, not an
wasn't an
easement.
easement, right.
So.
it's something that's gonna have to be
it's one
worked
of those-
into.
Again, it's another,
It's one of those things that's gonna have to be worked into the final product to be able to,
I assume it's okay just to respond, take care of the emergency, and worry, we'll
Right.
use the money from the bond to pay whatever expenses are.
pay for
Yeah.
work and time done.
I'll say this, Mr. Chairman, we're all correct. We can't leave the homeowners as pawns. We'd be crucified if we fail to respond to having a pump truck get down there at night or on the weekend. We have to make some type of minimal effect, keep that place in operation.
right.
Does the board have any
Protect the
problem with
property.
once a week checkup on that thing? I mean, what do you do? How do you?
I don't.
I hate to have it overflow if we could
I mean,
have.
that's minutes. I'm not talking
Yeah.
about.
This time in the
charging
week.
town $6 to have a guy go once a week, I'm talking if you got to change out a pump.
For $25,000.
Yeah, you're gonna buy you're gonna buy whatever you need, the money what's left. But there's also gonna be a bill presented to the town for you guys' time, for time spent.
Against the,
To pull on that
against that
bond.
bond, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
in
for
all
labor,
honesty,
yeah.
most likely it's gonna be one of us responding and then having to call out somebody else to pump it out.
Yeah, pump truck and all the sewer
All of
It's
that
gonna be
will have to
minimal
be
out of
taken
our
care of,
department, but
yes.
there's gonna be a bill. I think, what did we talk about? There's about, you can cover maybe 1.5-ish occurrences right now?
Right, and then the money's gone.
Yeah, so.
If there's a pump that goes, you're talking $3,000, $4,000 for one single pump to
But
be
we need
fixed.
to be in touch with the corner office that after that money's gone, it's the town's responsibility.
Yeah, yeah.
We
We'll have to
being
figure
good
out.
neighbors find help, but there's gonna be a bill coming.
Well, I'm sure that even if that does land on somebody's property, we've had discussion before, whoever owns it, he's on the low side, so he's gonna get
Yeah, they're not
the
gonna-
brunt
they're
of
not-
the occurrence, so
The-
probably might wanna just, if we can, just get a letter saying, hey, yeah, go ahead.
It's the legal side of
Yeah.
things that, I mean, somebody could meet us down there with a shotgun. I mean, stranger things have happened. It needs to be documented.
Can I get a formal motion on that? So we have it down as to what exactly we can do. We get at least permission to respond in an emergency at Eisenhower Pump Station and make the necessary repairs if needed, through the bond money.
And
I will
weekly
make that
checks.
motion in a minute, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Can you get in touch with the corner office about we need an easement?
Yeah, it'll have to be written into the whole,
Because if we're sending the guys in emergency, they need to be covered.
yeah, so,
Because they can't be working on private property.
Right.
in the acceptance of that subdivision. Well, it'll be in the minutes. I'm writing it down, but there's no need to. It'll be recorded. So you're saying in the acceptance of that subdivision?
No, what I'm saying is we need an easement, I don't wanna say ASAP, but if we're gonna send the guys there in an emergency, we need an easement to cover us being on private property.
Then we'd have to get that from the private property owners, yes.
That's the town's responsibility to get that.
Okay. Okay.
I will make a motion that we send, in case of an emergency on Eisenhower Drive, we send our crew there to fix the problem. And also,
For time and materials, yeah.
time and materials, send a bill.
Yep.
The good thing is we're helping the users, but we're giving in to the contractor.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that is what it is.
It is what it is.
Don't want to say anything on public that we end up getting sued over. So,
Vote on that?
yeah, there's been a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
That good for you, George?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, maintenance, yeah, day to day, yeah, that just,
I'd actually notify one of you guys anyway, that if
I
we're
wanna
getting
see
a
the
call. I'll
Yeah,
call
it-
and tell
I'm
you.
more-
yeah, let us know
I'm more
that,
concerned, I want to see the bill to the town. You can do, get
Yeah,
that.
it's
to me.
for-
Reimbursed.
yeah. Yeah. Okay, any other questions with the superintendent's report? Okay, board comments. Did you have anything, sir? Okay, I just, this is public and board comments. I didn't want to forget you sitting there, but we don't usually have anyone sitting this late into our meetings,
Sure,
but,
John Cunningham, 62 West Main. First of all, I want to thank you guys for all that you do. It's a lot of time. I just wanted to be sure, so on this water rate increase, it looks like it's less than $20 a year.
if you're in the first tier,
First 1,000 cubic feet,
yeah, 100 units, yes.
yeah. All
Yeah,
right,
so that's times what, 2,000 users maybe?
So, you know, if
4
you're.
times a year, John, too, quarterly
So
billing.
if you're, yeah,
well, it looks like it moves the basic cost from $78.37 a quarter to $82.29. It's not a lot.
no, it's not.
No.
Yeah, so I think times 4, it brings you in at 18.
If you stay in the tier one, you're talking about
$20.
$15 a year.
Yeah,
That 86 is actually wrong. That's the one thing I missed.
yeah, that's not 5%.
Yeah. I went over this thing repeatedly to find any and all mistakes, but no, that's obviously minus $3.70 from that base rate.
Yeah, so it's,
So it's,
All right.
it is trying to do the best we
Right.
can to.
So the other question I have, there's about 2,500 users, roughly?
roughly, 2439.
Okay. And so, you hear a lot about Eagle Drive. I guess we're buying them water for years and so forth, right? That whole pollution thing from the dump.
PFAS
Yes.
problem over there.
Yeah,
If the town added those people, I mean, it'd be a tremendous cost putting in the water lines.
Cost of the town, not us.
Yeah.
well, it's cost, yes.
Okay, so it wouldn't even out.
No, when we do the budget and the revenue and everything else like that,
Yeah.
we can't run it as a regular business. We're allowed to make, the state will come in after we submit this and say, you made too much money, you can't make this much money, or you're spending too much money in your budget, you don't have this much, without being voted on from the retained earnings.
Okay.
So we put them on, in theory, the cost to produce water and deliver it to them will, per household, will just covering them. The only windfall that we may get out of it is the connection fees and whatnot, because our responsibility and the board's responsibility are to the ratepayers. They're outside of our purview, and I don't, for the lack of a thing, they're not a problem that we're working on.
All right. And on the
Part of
lead,
that, I'm sorry, and part of that is, yes, the town will pay the connection fees, but we're all part of the town, so we're gonna end up paying it,
Yeah.
everybody that lives on the tax rate there. The water and sewer department pays the town indirect costs to use the facility. So it kind of
no win.
Yeah, it's
And on the lead pipe survey, I think the state was going to make about 100,000 available.
That's not in stone yet, but it's, I mean, we don't know yet it's gonna keep changing.
Yeah.
They come in every single year with added incentives.
Okay, because I know,
currently what we're doing is what this current effort is to collect data.
Right.
Once we know, okay, we know we have it here and here and here, now what do we do about it?
Yeah, but
And
that
how
was-
do we pay for it?
just for the survey, I thought.
Right. The survey's paid for by a grant.
Yes.
Right,
and
that's what I meant.
This is precipitated by
Yeah.
the issue that happened in Flint, Michigan. And when you hear us talk about our chemicals and how much they cost, The chemical that we use, so that doesn't happen here, is the one that we budget 160,000 for.
150, I think,
160,
yeah.
180,000 for a year.
And the last thing I heard you say, if there's a surplus, the town can grab it. I thought this was an enterprise fund.
It is.
Is that what it's called?
That's in the enterprise law.
Yeah.
That could be done. It would be one hell of a fight
Well,
on
I
the
thought-
town meeting floor
Yeah, I mean,
to
Southbridge.
try to do that.
Southbridge tried that, and the Department of Revenue stepped in and actually wrote a CMR about it.
Okay, that may be the case.
I don't know.
I'm talking about my understanding of enterprise from 20 years ago. It's just that those
They
laws
can
may
vote it,
change.
It has to be for forcing us to do something
Right.
for their users. I think that's us.
Right. There used to be a case that may not be the case anymore. They used to be able to take it at town meeting. Yeah, that would be one heck of a fight. A fight that to be frank, I don't think anybody on either, on any side would want to fight. That would be
We
ugly.
wouldn't be friends anymore, that's
We'll
what.
give the town all our bills, we have no problem with that. Tons of them.
Yeah, that's ugly.
It's honestly not out
Okay.
there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Another note just came in because I'm email. GEG has canceled for tomorrow.
Yes, okay. I knew they would. It's supposed to rain.
Might as well.
Well, it is raining,
No.
but they can't dig the roads up. Okay, any board member comments? Tom?
Nope, all set.
I got nothing.
You guys? Jen?
Are you doing a warrant article?
We'll have to find out from the coroner office exactly how, if we take from retained earnings, to put in the budget what,
Then I would suggest possibly
It might not-
a
might-
motion to use whatever vehicle means necessary to transfer.
Right.
You'd allow us, without having to do another meeting unless you have.
no, you don't have to, you just, however it has to happen, it has to happen.
Yeah.
Wasn't that done in the fall?
No, if we have to.
I've never done it before.
We're setting the budget, we've never taken the action of using using retained earnings to
'Cause
balance our
didn't Bob say
budget.
something about that last meeting?
Yeah, Bob seemed to
I don't
think
remember.
that was just generally allowed in the law. But I don't know, I'm an electronics guy, I'm not a
In
lawyer.
that case, three of you stay available.
But it's just, I would say that if it has to go to town, be a town meeting warrant, we'll,
Actually-
put a warrant article out. If not, then,
In the motions, it actually said to use to cover the shortfalls.
Right.
Correct.
So, yeah,
So-
so we're.
it's already
so-
been covered in
so,
those
yeah.
those
I
motions.
just wanted to make sure, and I'm
If
just
you
covering
write
my,
up warrants for that, then
no problem. And they would just be going into operating
They
expenses.
go right into the budget, yep.
Operating expenses for the water, and I would put it into the cost for Webster's.
yeah, whoops.
The Webster
Yeah,
processing?
processing.
No problem. I just so if I have
Oh,
to.
yeah, if you have to target
I
it
need
to a
to know-
specific account. Yeah, I mean, that's for,
Just so I know if I have to do a warrant article, what account numbers to give.
sure. Do you have anything? I already said no.
Mr. Chairman, you have any?
I have nothing at this point.
Make a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.